Spaceflight is an application of astronautics to fly spacecraft into or through outer space, either with or without humans on board. Yuri Gagarin of the Soviet Union was the first human to conduct a spaceflight. Examples of human spaceflight include the US Apollo moon landing and space shuttle programs and the Russian Soyuz program, as well as the ongoing International Space Station. Examples of uncrewed spaceflight include space probes that leave Earth orbit, as well as satellites in orbit around Earth, such as communications satellites. These operate either by telerobotic control or are fully autonomous. Spaceflight is used in space exploration, and also in commercial activities like space tourism and satellite telecommunications. Additional non-commercial uses of spaceflight include space observatories, reconnaissance satellites and other Earth observation satellites. Spaceflight can be achieved with different types of launch systems. Conventionally by rocket launching, which provide the initial thrust to overcome the force of gravity and propel a spacecraft from the surface of the Earth. Once in space, the motion of a spacecraft, both when unpropelled and when under propulsion, is covered by the area of study called astrodynamics. Some spacecraft remain in space indefinitely. Some disintegrate during atmospheric re-entry, and others reach a planetary or lunar surface for landing or impact. There are several terms that refer to a flight into or through outer space. A space mission refers to a spaceflight intended to achieve an objective. Objectives for space missions may include space exploration, space research, and national firsts in spaceflight. Space transport is the use of spacecraft to transport people or cargo into or through outer space. This may include human spaceflight and cargo spacecraft flight. The first theoretical proposal of space travel using rockets was published by Scottish astronomer and mathematician William Leach in an 1861 essay, A Journey Through Space. More well known as Konstantin Tsiolkovsky's work, Исследование мировых пространств реактивными приборами, published in 1903. Tsiolkovsky's rocketry work was not fully appreciated in his lifetime, but he influenced Sergei Korolev, who became the Soviet Union's chief rocket designer under Joseph Stalin, to develop intercontinental ballistic missiles to carry nuclear weapons as a countermeasure to United States bomber planes. Derivatives of Korolev's R-7 Samyukta missiles were used to launch the world's first artificial Earth satellite, Sputnik 1, on October 4, 1957, and later the first human to orbit the Earth, Yuri Gagarin in Vostok 1, on April 12, 1961. Spaceflight became an engineering possibility with the work of Robert H. Goddard's publication in 1919 of his paper A Method of Reaching Extreme Altitudes. His application of the de Laval nozzle to liquid fuel rockets improved efficiency enough for interplanetary travel to become possible. He also proved in the laboratory that rockets would work in the vacuum of space. Nonetheless, his work was not taken seriously by the public. His attempt to secure an army contract for a rocket-propelled weapon in the First World War was defeated by the November 11, 1918 armistice with Germany. Working with private financial support, he was the first to launch a liquid-fueled rocket in 1926. Goddard's papers were highly influential internationally in his field. In the course of World War II, the first guided rockets, the V-2, were developed and employed as weapons by the Third Reich. At a test flight in June 1944, one such rocket reached space at an altitude of 189 kilometers. Becoming the first object in human history to do so. At the end of World War II, most of the V-2 rocket team, including its head Wernher von Braun, surrendered to the United States and were expatriated to work on American missiles at what became the Army Ballistic Missile Agency. This work on missiles such as Juno I and Atlas enabled launch of the first U.S. satellite Explorer 1 on February 1, 1958. And the first American in orbit, John Glenn, in Friendship 7 on February 20, 1962. As director of the Marshall Space Flight Center, von Braun oversaw development of a larger class of rocket called Saturn, which allowed the U.S. to send the first two humans, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, to the Moon and back on Apollo 11 in July 1969. At the same time, the Soviet Union secretly tried but failed to develop the N-1 rocket, meant to give them the capability to land humans on the Moon. Rockets are the only means currently capable of reaching orbit or beyond. Other non-rocket space launch technologies have yet to be built, or remain short of orbital speeds. A rocket launch for a spaceflight usually starts from a spaceport, which may be equipped with launch complexes and launch pads for vertical rocket launches and runways for takeoff and landing of carrier airplanes and winged spacecraft. Spaceports are situated well away from HUMA.